forms. This lesson will help you understand phishing and its other forms. This lesson will help you understand how phishing works in its various forms. Phishing is a social engineering technique used to harvest employees' sensitive information, such as their usernames, passwords, and credit card information. Cybercriminals initiate this attack by pretending to be from a known organization. They will send out fake account updates via emails, instant messages, and text messages, asking you to update your accounts using a fake link. This link will direct you to a fake website that looks exactly like the legitimate website. This will lure you into believing the authenticity of the request for an account update. You will then be asked to input details such as a username and password. Sometimes other private information is also requested, which may then be used for identity theft. Phishing attacks are still prevalent, even though a lot of mitigating techniques have been used to avoid them. According to the FBI's 2019 Internet Crime Report, almost $57 million were lost to phishing schemes in 1 year. This tells us phishing attacks are becoming more sophisticated as we discover new ways to fight against them. Other common forms of phishing attack you should be mindful of are spear phishing, whaling, smishing, and vishing. Spear phishing. Unlike phishing attacks, which target a large number of employees from different companies, spear phishing attacks only target a specific employee for a particular gain. In spear phishing attacks, cybercriminals pretend to know the target before asking for a large amount of money or confidential information. For example, Employee 1 receives an email from a cybercriminal pretending to be one of his colleagues. The email says, "Hi, I'm currently out of the office today. Can you send me the files that our team is working on? I'll finish work at home." Employee 1 will then send the confidential files believing it was his colleague. This incident may lead to a data breach. Whaling is closely related to spear phishing, where the cybercriminal pretends to be a VIP or a high-ranking official of the company. For example, Employee 1 from the finance department receives an email from the cybercriminal pretending to be the vice president of the company. By using an email address that looked exactly like a legitimate email, the cybercriminal will then trick Employee 1 into transferring money to a particular account immediately by saying, "The transfer is urgent to close the deal," and that he, the VP, has currently no way of accessing it. Due to heightened emotion, Employee 1 will then transfer the amount before realizing the email is not legitimate. Smishing is another form of phishing sent via SMS or short message service. It works just like phishing. The only difference is that the fraudulent message is sent to the employee's mobile phone. As an example, Employee 1 receives a text message that says, "Hi, this is John from Buy Now. Enjoy a $50 discount when you check buynow.com. The employee may not realize the link provided is fake, and once clicked, may install a fraudulent application onto the employee's corporate mobile phone. This fraudulent application may copy all the business contacts, as well as the account credentials saved on the employee's mobile phone. Another form of phishing is vishing. Vishing, or voice phishing, is a technique used by cybercriminals to gain sensitive information via a fraudulent phone call. For example, Employee 1 receives a phone call from a cybercriminal pretending to be one of their vendors. "Hi, this is Anna from Office Supplies, one of your vendors. We invite you to settle your bill to avoid any penalty. Please be informed we have changed our account number to 0123-4567-8910-1112. If we settle this while we are on the phone, I can verify the payment right away and update the balance." An unsuspecting employee may provide all of this before realizing the call is fraudulent. In the next lesson, Sia will discuss how you can recognize and avoid these phishing attacks. Recognizing and avoiding phishing attacks. This lesson will help you in recognizing and avoiding phishing attacks. The best way to avoid a phishing attack is to be familiar with how it works. The goal of a phishing attack is to lure you into giving out your personal information via fake account updates, verification of the account, notification of a suspicious login attempt, or anything that will heighten your emotions. For example, you receive an email stating there was a suspicious login attempt and a password reset is needed. A link to address the issue is provided. This fake, suspicious login will heighten your emotions, and thus you click the link and enter the needed credentials. By this time, the cybercriminal has your access and can do anything with the account. You should know how to determine if the link provided in an email, instant message, or text message is from a legitimate website or not. In Section 7, SIA will discuss how you can check if the URL is secured or not. Any unknown email sender should be marked as spam. If you determine that the email received is a phishing email, you can report it to the IT department to block the email address. Any unknown phone number should be blocked on the device. This number should also be reported to the telecom provider to block it permanently. You should also check the email sender. Most of the time, the domains used by the fraudulent sender are misspelled. For example, instead of receiving an email from support@mybank.com, a phishing email will come from support@mybank.com. Note the extra K. You should also avoid providing credit card information or transferring money when asked over the phone. If in doubt, you should always ask for approval from any present manager or supervisor. You must also use antivirus software that has enhanced website threat protection to see if you clicked a legitimate website or not. This software should also have the ability to safeguard you against email scams, and the ability to check if the link in the email is safe. In the next section, SIA will show you how to detect and remove malicious software or malware from your corporate devices.
Examples of phishing attempts. As we have seen in previous lectures, hackers often use fake email and URL addresses when attempting to phish information out of unsuspecting victims, whether they are employees or random civilians. Older people are especially popular targets for cyber thieves. As cybersecurity becomes more effective at combating these crimes, the attempts are also becoming more sophisticated and harder to detect. Security measures such as firewalls and antivirus software can be of great assistance, but it is also important for employees to be as familiar with this matter as possible. Hackers rely on catching employees off guard, hoping that they will be too busy to notice any small discrepancies such as misspelled email accounts. Staying up to date with the most current types of phishing attempts is another way for employees to assist their company's cybersecurity efforts. This can be difficult as many phishing scams today resemble common types of business documents and activities. The type of scams pretending to be a Saudi prince seeking your help to transfer funds internationally are less common, but they still occur. Hackers believe that even if only 1% out of 100 falls for the short con, it can still be worth their while. This type of con, though, more currently assumes the identity of a person who is more realistic or familiar to the target, such as an armed forces personnel or someone teaching English or performing some other job overseas. These scams will source and use the names of actual living people. One other potential danger, although not a phishing scam, is that money launderers often use digital transfer to move money globally and could, theoretically, ask for your assistance. The old adage, "If it seems to be too good to be true, it probably is especially relevant here. Cybercriminals may also assume that person's identity to send friendship requests on social media, as you to open a Google or other document or forward some other request that could grant them access to your system. This is another reason, in addition to lost productivity, why employers consider it inappropriate for their employees to answer personal emails on company time. Some phishing scams will rely on a person, employee, or private citizen to react to their emails out of fear. Digital warnings that a person's account has been compromised or is in danger of being deactivated are designed to prompt a user to click on a link with equally disastrous results. IT staff and security experts recommend that a person should never click directly on these links or documents, but should instead contact the assumed sender through a separate and unrelated channel to confirm their identity and the message's source. Employees and an organization's staff should pay particular attention to emails that claim to be from the IT or HR department. Private citizens want to be cautious when receiving requests from government tax departments. These two types of phishing techniques are currently very popular, since they can look very authentic, and a person responding to the email or request who is distracted could inadvertently click on the link or document before they have a chance or remember to question the item's validity. Some good sources for staying current on these schemes are professional media outlets, newspapers, both online and offline, government websites that you visit, and websites that focus on cybercrimes. In our next lecture, we will look at a simulation of a phishing attack in specific detail.
Simulation. Identifying phishing emails. We now know that phishing attacks via email are commonly used to harvest our sensitive information. As an employee, it is your responsibility to be vigilant for possible phishing attacks. SIA's Cybersecurity Awareness Phishing Attack Simulation will help you learn how you can determine whether incoming email messages are safe or not. Let us start with the first story. John from XYZ Company receives an email notification supposedly from the IT team, asking him to reset his password. By investigating the email, we can already see that it is fraudulent. There are certain indicators that will tell us the received email is questionable. Let us look at the example email content. The first indicator of a phishing attack is the subject of the message. This subject creates a sense of urgency. It will heighten your emotion, thus you will not think properly. The second indicator is the sender's email address. The email content claims to be from your IT department, but if you will look closely, it is actually sent from a personal email address. You must always keep in mind that your IT team will never send an official email from a personal email address. The third indicator is how the email was constructed. We advise you to reset your password immediately so you won't be locked out of your computer. The sense of urgency is noticeable here. If you do not look for the first and second indicators, you will immediately believe the email is legitimate and change your password. The last one. The sender urges John to click on the link to change the password. If you hover on the given link, it will show http://mycompanypage.com. The website is pointing to a different URL used for changing passwords, thus proving that this is a phishing attack. Be cautious. It is risky to click on unknown links from unknown sources. Let's look at another example. Bob, who is working at the finance department at XYZ Company, receives an email supposedly coming from AWS Inc., claiming there is an urgent invoice payment for cloud storage. XYZ Company has partnered services with AWS Inc., and a monthly invoice is sent to the company. But this time, the email is not the same as the usual one. There are indicators that the email received by Bob is a phishing email. Let us now check the following example. Some phishing indicators are like the previous email. The subject creates an urgency, and the sender's email domain is almost the same as the legitimate email domain of AWS email. You may notice an extra A in AWS. However, two more things stand out on this email. First is the date and time this email was received. It is highly unlikely that business emails will be sent on Saturday and during off-business hours, which here is 9 p.m. Please take note that any off-hour business email is suspicious. Second is the email attachment. We have already identified that this email is suspicious. Any attachments from suspicious or unknown sources should not be opened, as it may contain malicious software. Phishing attacks are rampant in the corporate world. Knowing how to identify the indicators of a phishing email gives you one less problem to worry about cyber attacks.
COVID-19 phishing. Public emergencies are often a prime target for cybercriminals and phishing attacks, since the average person is already experiencing heightened emotions and may be even more likely than usual to react without thinking. This is why it is especially important at times like these to stop and think before responding to an email or other request. There are 4 types of phishing requests that are commonly used in relation to the COVID pandemic, but there are likely many more that are less commonly used and always new phishing strategies that appear from time to time. The most common threat is to establish a fake website with scripts that can perform malicious actions or gather private and personal information from your computer. Websites that use the COVID pandemic to distract visitors will often post false, negative information about the pandemic, playing on people's fears while conducting their illicit business in the background. In the past, hackers would mimic the URL addresses of legitimate websites. Today, they will register URL addresses that make them look like legitimate websites. This information is almost always fake, since the best way to lie effectively is to include some truth in the lie. The information is designed to evoke an emotional response or fear, promoting the reader to act without thinking. The real purpose is to trick the reader into revealing sensitive personal information which may not seem that important, such as age, gender, birth date, and so on. The second most common vehicle used for phishing is email. Bogus emails will often utilize headers such as registering for vaccination, where to register for vaccination, vaccine coverage and requirements, and so on. Phishing campaigns can target both private citizens and state-level agency employees. They may disguise themselves as originating from the CDC or Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, WHO or World Health Organization, and others involved in the matter. These emails may have documents attached, or they may contain links directing viewers to a separate website. Both the documents and the website will contain lines of code that can infect the viewer's computer, giving them access to the computer and/or the information stored on it. Both the fake website and the email phishing strategies may attempt to disguise themselves as charities seeking financial assistance for the activities they sponsor. These activities or programs may appear to be related to the COVID pandemic or other diseases that threaten the population. They could also pretend to be soliciting contributions for programs addressing poverty, homelessness, and other social ills. Fear, however, is not the only emotion that phishing attempts will target. Phishing campaigns may at times pretend that their email recipients have won a contest or are eligible for government tax programs. All that is required is to provide some personal details to confirm their identities and their entitlement. Phishing campaigns conducted during COVID and other threats may target unemployment benefits related to the virus threat, suggesting that the recipients qualify for government financial relief. The best solution to any phishing attempt is to practice safe cybersecurity measures, especially those recommended by your IT department. If you suspect that you have been the victim of a phishing attempt, you can report it at https://cybercrimesupport.org/covid-19-scam-alerts/. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, provides a webpage that verifies the authenticity of charitable organizations and their contact information. You can find the FTC site at https://www.consumer.ftc.gov/articles/0074-giving-charity. Staying informed is, as always, the best way to stay one step ahead of hackers. In the next section, we will begin to discuss the issue of malware.